Good afternoon to my kings and queens. How are you doing today? I hope you guys are doing great. Ooh, I love the love. There's a lot of people up in here today.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Before I start my podcast, I had a little bad news this week, and I hope you guys will help me extend my program all the way to 7:30. But I don't know if you guys, Miles, you might know who passed away, but I got bad news on Monday. Pearl's Promise and Prayers organization lost their CEO, Trundella Blackwell, this week on Monday. I'm very saddened by the news, still trying to process that she's gone, and waiting for all the funeral arrangements, which should be taking place pretty soon. But before I even start my program, I would like to take a moment of silence. She was worthy of that. She was my best friend. She was my sister. And prayers out goes to the family. Thank you so much respect. I love that. I love you guys. May she rest in eternal peace, and she will be missed and not forgotten. Well, I usually start my show always with an enlightening poem. This one took me for a shocker. The ending part is a little, I'm trying to process the ending part, but let's go with it. Not racist or anything, but here we go. Grooming. She was constantly hit upon and sexualized before she was 18. She was then forced to become a filthy pawn while yet still being a very young teen. Into an unhealthy and sinful lifestyle she had been drawn. Now her youth and her faith and her purity is gone. She didn't learn about it while in school. It's a subject that her teacher never once taught. While she was learning math and history and golden rules, so the needs of the desires she never saw or thought. Excuse me, I was almost going to cough. There I go. But then as a teen, in doctrine and down the street, the person with the joyful and happy smile that she did meet. It wasn't drag queens who were doing the hitting, nor it was trans individuals doing the grooming, nor it was the gays doing the admitting. Neither was it them, the indoctrinating, or the lustful looming. So who was the one that had her to become immortal into the sin? It was the old white man. This poem today is going to touch a little bit on the topic of, and sometimes a lot of people have issues talking about transgender. As I was looking for data and information, it was a topic that when I brought it up to someone, they were like, be very careful. It's very, touchy. But, we're all professional, and sometimes there's stuff that has to be talked about that people shun it and not say anything about it. But I'm very transparent that not only women, men, youth are in domestic violence, but yes, transgenders are in relationships where they are abused and they never talk about it because of the shame or no one's going to believe it. Sometimes police are called to their home and they take it as a joke. As I was reading more and more into this stuff, sometimes it unnerved me because everybody should be treated with the utmost respect. They are people too. Whatever they decide to, be man or woman, we have to respect that. I was asked one time, a long time ago, and my son doesn't mind that I bring this up. He used to clean a lot. My son was a homebody, but he used to clean a lot. When I got home from work, he was always cleaning, fixing up, mopping and stuff. And I had someone said a statement. Someone said a statement. He was like, "You sure he's not the other side?" I said, "Because he grabs a mop and he cleans and he decides to stay home. You figure he's the other side." That's what they said. Instead of saying the word gay, I said, "Listen, whether he is or he isn't, that's not going to make me love him even less. It's going to make me love him even more. As his mother, whether he is or he isn't, doesn't matter to me because I'm going to accept him for who he is." And now he's 30 years old, on his own, loves women, but he's single. So no matter what was the turnout, I was going to love him regardless to what. If he even came up to me and said it, I was going to love him anyway. As a mother, I'm accepting and open, and I've seen so many families shun their own son and daughter from this. And why? This is your flesh and blood. So that little statement unnerved me a little because in this generation, a man can't grab a mop, a kid can't grab a mop and clean. They have to be classified that they're not a man, or And it unnerved me because I looked at the person like, oh, okay. I was like, because he cleans, you figure he's gay? I was like, I never knew a man can't pick up a mop. What's up? So whether he is or he isn't, I'm going to love him regardless. And I wish somebody would, if he was, because I am that mother bear. I will dig my foot where it don't belong if you try to mess with mine. So in the transgender community, there are always physically and verbally abused, and it's a shame because they are still human beings. Whether they choose to be a woman or a man, they're still human beings. And this topic just came, before I found out what happened on Monday. It came to my head. I said, Francesca, you're always talking about women, men, and youth in domestic violence. And when I Googled this came up. And I was like, let's talk about it. I know some people don't like it because they have their own beliefs, and I have to respect that. There could be no judgmental. We can debate. I know a lot of people, are against transgender. I've seen a lot of that happen, but they are abused. They are victimized. And I'm just going to read a little of the paragraph where it starts with, and I started seeing that, yes, they are abused, but they don't speak like we speak. Women will talk about it. Men will say yes, feel a little shame about it, but it has to be, you have to speak up. So many transgender individuals have been subject to abuse from a young age. That have been rejected by their family and their gender identity, being subject to emotional abuse because of who they are, or been told that who they are is not acceptable. This is baseline of discrimination and violence, and something that can be increased of risk of trauma later on in life. And yes, when your son comes up to you after many, many years, the father figure, he fears the father going up to him and say, Dad, I feel this way, And sometimes they don't say nothing. We find out. And you have some parents that are not accepting. They think it's embarrassing what their friends are going to say, the family. But at the end of the day, it's your son and your daughter, and you have to accept them for who they are. And I'm a firm believer of that. So there is a lot of discrimination, oppression against transgender people, often leads to homelessness and lack of family support. And that's why I was just talking about. If you go up to your father and say, listen, Dad, I'm gay, you don't know what reaction the father's going to have. He'll probably look at the son like, you're supposed to be a man. I wanted you to play basketball, football, man up, Dad. How are you gay? From some stuff that I've seen up close and personal, the dad has a tendency of looking down at the son. The mother most than likely will be questioning as to why, where it went wrong. She starts thinking, it's her fault. As for the father, would, want him to man up and stuff and try to process that situation, and where your son says that to you. There's always, a harsh reaction. The child is, kicked out of the home. where there's no support. Where is this child supposed to go if at the age of 16 or 17 he's telling you, I don't like girls, I like guys. And it's very hard to handle because, I've seen it. It's very hard to handle, but at the same time, me being very transparent, we live in this world and we can be who we want to be. A lot of them are professional models. A lot of them are, and I got to say, banging decorators. I have a couple of my friends that I'll be like, ooh, I want you to hook up my house because it's amazing some of the artworks they have. But, that's where we're at. And a lot of people, like I said, do not want to touch that subject, but I'm here for it. But there's really not support in the community, family-wise, friends-wise, because they are like, oh, I don't want you around me because, you're gay. That person can be your best friend. Don't look at the person in that type of way because they're still a human being with feelings. And if they feel rejection from their family and then they go over to the friend and they feel rejection from the friend, they feel alone. In this society, I've also noticed that transgenders, when they are rejected, they tend to start drinking alcohol, they start to use drugs, they start to be promiscuous, and that's harsh. We have to be an ear and we have to be very accepting. One of the things I said that transgenders, when they are in a relationship, they are abused. Yes. Because does it seem as if your friend can be an individual apart from your relationship? No. Where their partner is involved, there are all of these decisions. Some of their partners can be very jealous and possessive. And, I got to say it. I got some gay friends that look absolutely gorgeous. And I'll be like, whoa, and you don't like women? He was like, no. And they're absolutely gorgeous. And I'll be like, wow. Why he switched that side, but it's okay. But you often wonder. Some of them look, women too, absolutely gorgeous. Does your friends' partners, constantly they're looking at your email, text, calling during the day. Your partner demands to know who are your friends and who you're with. So if you think in a regular relationship you have problems, in a transgender there is more insecurities in the relationship. They are more possessive. There's a lot of mood swings and behavior that change dramatically because they want to know where you are and who you're hanging out with. Whatever response you give to your partner, they can be, combative. There is a physical and verbal abuse in those altercations when the person is very possessive. When I read into this stuff, I was like, whoa, I thought I had it bad. But they tend not, if they are abused, they tend not to say nothing because of the shame. They tend not to say nothing because no one's going to believe them. And that's where I say you're wrong. You got to believe no matter what. Supporting survivors. Listen closely, believe the survivor, and tell them that the abuse is not their fault. Sometimes they figured what I did wrong. Did I speak to the wrong person? He or she is, very jealous. Sometimes they have a tendency of staying home so their partner takes care of them, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. You got to continue no matter what and get out of that relationship. The goal should always be to work towards a safe place. I spoke about that in one of my podcasts where you have to have an escape plan, and that's having all your documentation in a bag with your clothes. If there's kids, also have their documentation and their clothes. So when you decide to leave, all you have to do is grab that luggage and you're out. You need to tell the survivor there is help out there. For the transgenders, there are a lot of resources. There's Forge where they have a safety plan guide. I never had to mentor anyone, but if I do, I would take extra precautions because sometimes they have a tendency of seeing no wrong in their abuser. And when I read on that, I saw everything in my abuser wrong. There was nothing I saw that he was doing absolutely right. But in here, because it's another topic and it's different, they have a tendency of going back to their abuser, giving them, a second chance. And 9 out of 10, the situation, instead of getting better, it gets worse. Unfortunately, if their partner is messing around and cheating, they can be suggested to getting HIV, any communicable diseases from their partner, which is also not good and horrific. I don't like that. I always say once a cheater, always a cheater. If you don't love the person, leave them alone. Don't do that kind of damage to them. It's, down the road, it's life-threatening when you are tested positive for that. And mostly they say it's in the transgender, but that's not a fact for me because anybody can get a communicable disease. So putting it out there, though I read that stuff. Also, that unnerved me a little when in a relationship like this, the cops have a tendency of not showing up because they're a couple. They figure that the couple, will get it together and stuff like that, and they don't write a report, which I think is wrong because no matter what ethnicity, what relationship, the person has rights. So when I read up on that if the cop shows up and stuff, they look at it like the expression that I saw in my data was baby dolls will, makeup and stuff, and we don't have to worry about this and we can just leave. And it's not like that. They should be treated with the utmost respect. Everything should be looked at thoroughly. The person should be looked at. They have physical markings and stuff. So it's just a shame when I was reading up on this stuff, how they're not taken seriously, and they should be. Because I don't care if it's a woman or a man, and they decided to be a man from a woman and a woman to a man, they should be treated with the utmost respect. So my listeners here, I am dying to see who has anything to say on what I was just talking about, because I know when it comes to the LGBT, a lot of people have different beliefs. As I was looking into the data, also unnerved me. They were talking about Adam and Eve, and it was not supposed to be Adam and Steve, which I think is a very harsh remark because, like I said, some are still realizing if they're trapped in a woman's body, or a man also, a woman's trapped in a man's body. Sometimes they don't know. They're confused. So to say that statement to me is very, it's very harsh. I respect that sometimes we have a lot of religious people that they say it's not in the Bible, it's something condoned. But at the same time, we have to understand some are confused and don't know in reality who they are physically inside. And that's something that has to be respected. I had one individual years ago when I was growing up that actually told me, I don't like, I'm not attracted to women. I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm not attracted to women. I like guys. I said, what you think, what that can be? And me being a teenager, I wasn't understanding it myself. But I was like, how can you not like women? How can you like men? How you're attracted? And that's how it started, into trying to explore. He was trying to date women, and it was not just working. And he would tell me, I'm just not feeling women. It's mostly men. And I couldn't judge him. I said, just go with your heart, whatever you feel, because, like I said, as a teenager, I wasn't understanding, what a lesbian or a gay guy was. I always said it was women with men, men with women, and growing up, I didn't understand till I started, now, doing my research and stuff. I said, oh, okay, now I understand a little bit. But this topic is always like taboo, you know, because I know a lot of people have their insight and input on stuff, and like I said, non-judgmental up in this program, and we can debate and we can agree and disagree, but I love everybody. I see everybody for who they are, and I'm very accepting. I've been out in groups where somebody will tell me, you know, she's a lesbian, and I'll be like, and I said, I don't roll that way, but we can hang out as long as she's respectful to me, knowing that I don't roll that way. We cool. It doesn't bother me to be in a group setting, because to me, there are people too. That they're just different, absolutely, but they have to be accepting, because some of them, I have them like my besties, my best friends. I go to them and I say, what about this, what about that? And they give me good advice. So to me, I'm very transparent, and I don't see them like taboo, like I have to stay away from them, or cooties because I'll convert. No, it's all different, you know. All of us are different, so they should be accepting, and they're not. You know, it's a shame some of the stuff that they do out of relationship, they're also not being accepted in the community, and it's very, very sad. But this is the times we're living in, so I just treat everybody with respect, and that's what they need to be, is respect. That's all. Any takers up here to say anything on the transgender community, what you feel, what you think? Is it unfair that they're not looked at seriously if they're in a domestic violence situation? They're not, to tell you, because I read up on the data, they're not. There are a lot of resources, though, for a relationship, but it's not taken seriously. It's a little different from a man and a woman, and that astonished me when I was looking up the information. So any takers up here? Go ahead, Miles. Don't be shy. Anna is golden. Come on. Anyone has to say anything on the transgender community? Your thoughts? Any testimony?
I said we should stop judging people.
Absolutely.
Let them live their life, because you don't like nobody telling you how to live your life. So.
Now, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because I know you is honest. You're as honest. I just want your honest opinion. Say your son came to you and told you, well, Dad, you know what? Couple of months I've been feeling this type of way. I'm not, you know, feeling women or nothing like that, and I'm attracted to men. Would you love your son less, or would you love your son more?
I would still love him. Speaking of that, I got a nephew's like that, but some of the other family ain't too happy. But I'm like this. I just asked him, is he happy? He said, yeah, so I'm with it. If you happy, it's your life. Now, if I turn him down because he that way, what that say about me?
Whoa, that's powerful.
He's still family, so.
I respect what you said right now. That's absolutely, I admire you very much. Thank you so much for being open to that, and actually saying it the way you did. You're going to love him more. And you said something that made me smile. And I'm always asking my kids all the time, are you happy? If one of my kids would have came up to me and said the same thing, I would have said, are you happy? I'm happy for you. Let me meet the person and try to have like a relationship so the person's not uncomfortable or thinking that I'm not accepting. That's where everything starts. So I am very happy that you said, you know, what you said, and also that little piece there, are you happy? Because sometimes no one, you know, we overreact. We start arguing with them, like, what's your problem? You know, everybody's going to think this way, that it's my fault, and we shouldn't think that way. I'm very open, just like you are, Miles, with that. If he would have came to me, I would have loved him even more, and the partner. come over, have dinner, let's talk. Never would question what went wrong, what went there, because we don't question that stuff. Love is love, and stuff just happens. But like I said, in the community, they're not accepted.
Francesca,
yes,
another thing sad about it too, because when they do feel that way, they scared to even tell their family members because of the reaction they're going to get, and that's sad too.
No, absolutely.
Your kid can't come to you and be honest with you because he's afraid how you're going to treat him or kick him to the curb.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a lot of homelessness because of that, because the family is not accepted. More in the high society, they're really not accepting. I've seen that the children, the teenagers do leave, and because the father got upset, if I wanted a girl, I would have went for it, but I got a son, and the son holds high expectations. The father sees him as a football, basketball, any sport. So when he comes up to you and tells you he doesn't like girls and he likes guys, the normal reaction of the father is looking at him like, okay, what are you saying? So it's more not accepting on the dad's side. Mothers have a tendency of not really letting it get to them and stuff, because I know a couple of families that their son and their daughters, their daughter is lesbian, and they don't see nothing wrong with it, nothing. They love her to death. They're accepting of the partners. I have many in the community that I know, and sometimes I question, I ask because there's trust, and I said, how was you guys getting together, accepted in the community and stuff? And they said it was rough. Work environment was very hostile. Going to events, they were looking at them like how two women are like dancing together and kissing on each other. And they've been together for over 25 years. And they're absolutely happy. I love the heck out of both of them. But they said it was very rough. Not too long ago, they were not allowed, and it surprised me because I even questioned, reached out to one of them because there was a very, very strong comment on Facebook where they were not allowed to go to an event because they were gay. And when I saw the post, I reached out to one of them, and I said, what's going on? What's up with that post? I was like, no, girl, we were not allowed to go to an event because we're a couple. And I said, wow, that's not right. That's not fair. And it was among their own race, which was even worse, where they weren't accepted. And they went to so many events, and let me tell you something. They are good dancers. I love talking to them. They just have good spirits. But when I saw that really bothered me. And I said, wow, the times we live in where they weren't allowed to go to an event because they were gay. And they felt some type of way about that situation, as they should. They were never excluded. And I think this year they were excluded from the event because there was a couple of people that felt uncomfortable because they were a couple. They're both women. And I found that very, very disrespectful and very, very sad because they are very well-mannered, very respectable. And when I saw that, I said, wow, they're still going through the trenches of, being shunned out. But that don't stop them, from posting how happy they are. They go on vacations. They are at many other events where people really don't care. It's like a normal thing. But some people really are not accepting. Churches are not accepting really of that either. Well, we're not going to go into the religious part, but I know some people do comment and say, in the Bible they don't have that, but we got to accept them for who they are, and that's exactly what you got to do, accept them for who they are. We're not here to be judgmental, but it's a shame when you're excluded from family gatherings, events and stuff because you are who you are. I would never want to be in their shoes to see how they would feel, but it's sad. You know, it's sad. In my part, I'm accepting of anyone. As long as you don't disrespect me, we are cool. If you lay hands on me and I don't want to be bothered with you, you can talk to me. But you don't have to put your hands on me and say, oh, I like you and stuff. Okay, you can see me from a distance and like me, but don't put hands on me. And we had that discussion one time in my podcast, too, about that. I think it was Dr. James that said, if a guy touches a woman, is it considered, I think, was it like physical abuse? And I said, no, it's not. It's not considered that. Considered a little bit if to extreme sexual harassment if it's taken a little further, but it's not considered, you know, physical abuse. But in this case, you know, like I said, it's sad. The transgender community is so hard. People accepting for who they are. And the majority are like, they solid, they're real nice. So, and in the family setting, it's not accepting. You know, some are shunned out school. I would be remiss in school sometimes. There's an issue. New York right now, there is an issue on where I think they were trying to put transgender bathrooms. I gotta say, I had the honor of going somewhere in New York, and I had to use the bathroom, and I came across the men's bathroom, the women's bathroom, and then on the right of me, there was a transgender bathroom. And I was like, oh, snap. And I smiled, and my girlfriend was like, they have a bathroom for, I said, yeah, I never seen it, but they are trying to remove now those bathrooms. I don't know why. You should leave them alone, because they have to go to the bathroom regardless of what. If she was a man and converted herself into a woman, of course she's going to go into the woman's bathroom. And you can tell when somebody's gay, when somebody's gay, when somebody's a lesbian, and they're converted from a guy to a woman. You can tell. It's so easy. But they should have, you know, their own bathroom. It's their right. That's something that they fought for. But now they're being removed in New York City. I don't understand what's the big stink about it. Leave well enough alone. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But, you know, I guess somebody said something about it and got unnerved of just seeing, I guess, the word on the bathroom. It didn't bother me. I just saw it like, it's cool. It really didn't bother me. I just was taken by surprise when I seen it on my way to the ladies' room. I just smiled, and I said, oh, they have a bathroom. Finally, I get to see it. But it looks like there's a problem about it now, and they are removing those bathrooms. So I don't understand. Also in the school, I noticed there was a big issue about that, too, where they said it would be confusing to the students there having a bathroom transgender. I don't see what's the confusion. Because this new generation now, we have to understand not everybody's different. We're not back like in the days where the bathrooms were divided, and I don't want to go into that topic because I'm really not racist. I think we all bleed the same, but back in the days there used to be like bathroom for the colors and bathroom for the whites. And if you was black and went into a white's bathroom, there was a big brawl about it. In this day and age, now we have the right to all be, you know, in the bathroom, no matter what color, what race you are, and I'm happy about that. But if they have their own bathroom, I don't see a situation with that. Why the community has to have a problem with that, I see nothing wrong. So if they're removed, shame on the individuals that first placed them up there, and now you're going to decide to remove them. So to each his own. But let me just say that 30% to 50% of the transgender people experience intimate partners violence at the same point in their lifetime compared to 28 to 33% in the general population. When I spoke about domestic violence, there was a percentage of conviction which was 58. which to me, it's somewhat half and half. That percentage should be a little higher, but it's not. Here it's a little low. It's a little low, the percentage. I think it should be a little higher because I've seen a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, some of the relationships in the same sex, there's more problems than in a regular relationship. Really there is, because they never speak. They're embarrassed. They stay into the relationship. They figure, where am I going to go? Who's going to be with me? Because the situation is not men and women. It's men and women. So they figure, like, their self-esteem, they can't get into another relationship. So they're accepting of who they're with now, which is, terrible to stay in a relationship because you think you can't find somebody else. They have their own clubs. You can find, another person that's willing to respect you and love you for who you are. But commonly, when I was reading into this information, they do tend to stay in the relationship because they can't find somebody else. They figured, I might as well stay with him. I've been with him for years, or I've been with her for years. Who's going to love me, like she does? But like I said, love is not supposed to hurt. But that has happened a lot. I read on that, and that's one of the prime reasons that they never separate and they stay. Also, there's a variety of reasons that transgender individuals are victimized at a high rate, and it's important to understand a few main factors that they need to take different steps, barriers of the transgender community, where it starts from a very young age to adulthood. And I said it, they're victimized verbally and physically. Relationships-wise is physically. In general, I say verbally because we have, no respect. If it's in a high school, I don't like saying the word, they're called, and I'm going to say it because it's in the data, they're called faggots, they're called lesbian, lesbo, and it's a shame. It's a shame that we have to go to that extreme and not accept the person for who they are. So anybody has any input, we can be very transparent here. We can agree and disagree and debate if someone thinks it's wrong of the same sex to be together. It's open to say it up here with no judgmental. I'm accepting that they can be together. Love is love. Respect is respect. And we can never know how this came about because some of them, I'm not going to say they're born that way, it's just they have, as they're growing up, feelings, and those feelings are not, the same. I can love a guy. I'm not going to love a female. I may find a female attracted in another sense where I'll look at her clothes, her face feature, but it doesn't mean I'm in love with a woman because I'm looking at her at a totally different way. One time I was by myself. I got to say a little testimony. One time I was by myself for a good while before I got married the second time around, and someone was like, I always see you by yourself. Are you sure you're not a lesbian? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, even if I was, I told the person directly, what is it, your business? If I am, why you're so concerned if I'm rocking and rolling alone in events, but it doesn't make me that I'm a lesbian. I was like, why would you say that? Of all things, why would you say that? And I laughed it off. And I just said, do I look like I love women? I said, no. I said, there's plenty of women, like, I got to say my idol is Angelina Jolie. I just got to say it up here. May he rest in peace. I had a dream about Angelina Jolie. She's absolutely beautiful. Her lips are like mine. Just got to put it out there. Her lips are absolutely beautiful. I had told my late husband one time that I dreamt about her, but not in a physical way. It was just the way she portrayed herself in society, because she was absolutely a beautiful woman, portrayed a lot of movies, did a lot of strong ones too. One of my favorite was Gia, where she played a lesbian actor there. and I saw everything she went through, the trenches. Absolutely powerful movie that you guys must see so you can understand of the same sex, everything they went through to stay together. Absolutely beautiful. And he happened to have told me, are you sure you're not in love with women? I said, no. The fact that I dreamt about her is just because she's physically beautiful, but that doesn't mean I have an interest in women. I just think she's beautiful. He had a big think about it all day because I'm married to him, and I was thinking about another woman, and I said, it doesn't make me a lesbian. It's just that she was absolutely beautiful. But I have to put out there that he was a Christian, Christian guy, always went to church, loved church, read the Bible. But when I said this to this man, he was unnerved the whole entire day because I said I dreamt about a woman, and it was specifically her. And he just turned around. He was like, you're not a lesbian, and then married him. I was like, no, I just like her. There's something about her. I was like, a woman can't dream about a woman. I was like, and not make it seem like she's interested. So me being the funny person that I am, I just laughed it off. But he took it seriously. I know sometimes our mind wanders, but I had to make him relax and tell him, okay, it'll never happen again, but my head, you can't control my head where it wanders. But I found it a little funny. It wasn't funny to him because he thought something else, but it wasn't what he thought. But to me, it was funny when I mentioned it, but he took it seriously, guys and ladies. He took it very seriously that I dreamt about a woman, and he thought I was a lesbian. And I said, I'm married to you, how I'm going to be a lesbian. So it was funny to me at the time. But throughout the evening, he took it very seriously. He kept looking at me, and I was joking. It's just a woman that is absolutely beautiful. But, like I said, it can be taken in another way if I would have said it to somebody else. But to me, I found it funny. I love him. Huh?
You heard his feeling. He like, yeah, somebody want my girl. They want my girl.
Well, Miles, let me tell you something. The look on his face was priceless. But the look on his face was priceless. But that just let me know, he came from a family that's very religious. He was always reading the Bible and always going to church. And one day, my mind just wandered because she's absolutely beautiful. Whoever seen her on TV, she's absolutely beautiful. And she was one of my idols because I liked the way she dressed, how she did her makeup, her hair. And I don't know what happened. My mind just wandered that night, and I was thinking about her, just how she looked and stuff. And I think over dinner is when I mentioned to him, like, you know who I dreamt about? And he was like, who? And when I said Angelina Jolie, he was like, what? You dreamt about a woman? And he just looked at me all day, weird out. And he was like, he's not a man to get angry, but he just kept, like, constantly a couple of minutes in, like, why would you be dreaming about a woman? That's not good. That's a thought, that makes you think. He was like, you sure you ain't, me being married to him, you sure you ain't, from the other side or both sides? I was like, excuse me? I said, I'm not bi. It's just that the woman is beautiful. We can't dream about a woman. He was like, well, I would never dream about a man because that's not good. And I was like, okay. So I left the subject alone. And I was like, well, I was just kidding. But that doesn't make me a lesbian because I was thinking about her. I just admire her look and stuff. But he was unnerved.
Thank God he ain't had a fork or a spoon in his mouth when you said
that. Oh, God. Why?
He could have clamped down on that bad boy. What did he say? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he was kind of upset. But like I said, he was religious, and, sometimes in religion that's looked at taboo. And it just reminded me never to mention anything like that to him because he was pretty upset. And it was a normal reaction, for him to be upset because of his religious beliefs. Me, I believe in God. I went to church with him twice. To me, God is everywhere. Everybody that goes to church, kudos. But I visit and stuff like that. But to me, God is everywhere. So he used to go to church a lot and read the Bible. And that day made me think, like, why did I tell this man that? And the look on his face was priceless. He wasn't argumental. He's not a person of arguing. He's more of a dialogue. So he was like, why would you, can I ask you a couple of questions? Why would you dream about a woman? What were you thinking about her? He was like, you sure you're not, bi? Because that's kind of weird to dream about a woman and stuff like that. And once the dialogue went that far, I was like, ooh, I'll never tell him I dreamt about any woman in this lifetime again, because his face was priceless. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable situation.
Francesca.
Yes, we are.
You're dealing with a manhood when you say that.
Really? What's your insight on it? Let everybody know up here. What's your insight on that?
Well, first of all, when you hear your woman say, oh, I was dreaming about another woman and blah, 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 our egos jump. I can't speak for every man. I'd be like, uh-oh. And do I have to prove myself to this woman now? I'm better
Are you
than
serious?
Hey, our minds wonder too. Why is she thinking about another woman? What if I'm doing wrong where she's thinking about another woman? Or did I get involved with a woman that go both ways and just finding it out?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because, you be wondering, okay, she's thinking about another woman. Oh, Lord. Is she bi? Or is she just like, trying to find another way? When I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, damn, my girl thinking about my wife, rather, is thinking about another woman. So what is I'm doing wrong?
Oh, wow. I never looked at it that way. That's why I said he was upset when I mentioned it. And I can say I mentioned it kind of joking, like sporadically, like a conversation like that. I thought, we had an open communication, and I figured I could have said something like that. But, yeah, I could have stroked his ego, like you just said, because he did question it throughout the day. Like Van Diesel from the Fast and the Furious. I'm in love with that man. He has a deep voice, beautiful. And one day we were looking at the TV, and I was like, oh, my God, he can offer me whatever amount of money and ask me to date him. I would not get the money. I would just date him because I said, I love that man. He has a deep, rugged voice. He's strong. He got pissed off about that.
It was so bad.
And I was just consciously saying it just out of, now, Miles, come on. You can't tell me you don't look at the TV and you don't see beautiful, look at Vivica Fox. Absolutely gorgeous woman, doesn't look her age. You're not going to tell me you're not going to look at a woman on the TV and not say she's beautiful.
Well, before I lost my sight, I did tell my baby mother, I said, why you can't look like Janet Jackson? And she didn't take Janet was fine. And I was always
Wait a minute, Miles. That's a whole nother category.
Yes, I was going to say that. My face just went like, go ahead.
Because I had a thing for Janet Jackson. I did.
But you can't tell somebody that they look like somebody.
We was watching her on TV. I just looked at her, so why you can't look like that? That's all I said. And I knew I was wrong when it came out my mouth, but it came out. And I paid for it.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miss Carol. You have anything to say?
It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't comfortable, but I regretted it.
I got in trouble because I had Denzel's picture on my phone.
Ooh, another one.
Put their spouse's picture or something. Well, I had Denzel's picture, and I said, what if I had to? I said, but it's a movie star. I don't have some guy that I'm looking at down the street or something. It's a movie star. So people idolize movie stars. What is the big deal? But and then my youngest son said to me, well, would you want Dad to have pictures on his phone of other women. And I said, if it was a star or a singer or something like that he liked, it wouldn't bother me, but I wouldn't want him to just have some woman's picture on his phone. And so eventually, I don't know, something that my young one said, and I said, out of the mouths of babes. So I took it off.
A good-looking woman make any man say something stupid. It's like, you guys see them guys, you're like, damn, he look good. But sometimes y'all don't realize your man next to you and you say it, and sometimes we don't realize. I'm telling you, I was walking downtown Patterson with my baby mother, and a lady walked past me. I turned around and looked at her, and I ran dead into a pole.
Oh, my God, Miles.
No, look,
really?
Hey, right down there, remember where Jacob 29 used to be at, downtown Patterson?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right down there, we was coming across the street, going towards Jacob 29. The girl, Spanish girl, long hair, she was fine. Oh, Lord, she was fine. And she walked past me. I just turned around and looked back at her, and then when I turned around, I hit that pole, and my baby mother just looked at me and said, good, you should have broke your neck. I like, damn.
I was going to say something what your wife said at the moment because I got to say something about that, Miss Carol. Let me step in real quick and let Miles know. If you're looking at another woman and you're walking with your wife, I got to say it, Miles, openly. That is so disrespectful.
I know it. It was. I told her, but I couldn't help myself. The girl was fine. I mean, she was like built. I mean, she was like, oh Lord, she was looking good. I told her, I said I was wrong, and I admit it. I used to always get in trouble that way because I did always look at, and it got me in trouble. But hey, I admit to it. I ain't saying I didn't look at her, but I did. Thank God. I
can wonder.
Yeah, but there are beautiful women out there. It's all right to look, but I did went a little too far because I turned all the way around and.
Oh my God, Miss Carol!
Hold on. Y'all had to see the lady for yourself. The lady was like Francesca. The lady was she was like that brown tone she had in her hair.
Okay.
She was built nice. I mean, she was actually looked like she was one of them ladies who actually did like into serious exercising. And, you hardly see them running the street. And I turned around, I seen her, because I was walking towards her. She was walking towards us, coming across the street. Then when I got on the curb, I just turned around and looked back at her like, damn. And that's when I hit the pole.
Good. I'm going to say good you hit the pole, because I'm still going to say you looked at her, but you're with your wife. That was so disrespectful. I still got to say it because your wife is going to be like, he's looking at another woman. What am I? And then she's going to start wondering, we as women start wondering, when you do that, innocently, and you probably meant no harm, but we start thinking like, okay, he has his eyes on another woman and he's looking, and then we start looking at flaws at ourselves.
Well, I got to argument. We walked all the way to Broadway, and boy, I was a lot of cuss. She had a lot of cuss words for me.
I bet she did.
And I bet she did. She wouldn't even walk with me. I felt bad about it, but it happened. I'm sorry it happened, but it did happen.
Okay. I got a question for you. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot and there was a big, hulky, muscle-bound, because you got those men that look good, muscle-bound, and her eyes directed to him, and you seen it, how would you feel?
I wouldn't have liked it. I really wouldn't.
Oh.
Because, even though I was into bodybuilding myself during that time too, but I wouldn't have liked her looking at another man like that. Now I can understand like she probably just look at him, but see the difference between a man and a woman. See, a woman could look at a guy in 5 seconds and radar like a D, and she got everything she needs. But see, we men, we have a tendency to forget to turn back around. Like we get stuck. We just keep staring. But see, I wouldn't have been happy with it either, but I can understand her looking at another guy because it happens. Good-looking people walk past, you look at them.
Okay.
I did get carried away, and I admit to it, I was wrong, and I got cussed out all the way home.
As you should have. And going now back to Miss Carol, with the who was it? Denzel Washington. I gotta tell you, that's another hottie. And you're absolutely right. If it would have been somebody else, another man, I'm quite sure he would have been upset. But sometimes we idolize some of these famous people that are very good-looking men. Like there's good-looking women. I had posters of, men up in the wall, and once I got married with my second husband, I had to take them down because, like I said, he felt like in 2 occasions, stuff that I did, he felt some type of way because when I looked at Van Diesel on the TV and I was gawking and saying how his muscle and, his voice, he was like, well, go with him then. I was like, what you doing with me then? And I'm like, excuse me? I was like, ew. So I couldn't really, huh?
You talking about the wrestler guy?
No, the one from the Fast and the Furious, Van Diesel.
Oh.
Toretto.
Okay. Oh, my sister loves him.
Ooh, I love him. I love him. Ooh, do I love him. I don't know. He got like...
Let me ask you two. How is it y'all could look at a man like for 3 seconds and know everything that you see? You could recognize everything he got on, how he looked. How y'all do that?
I don't know.
And y'all get away with it too.
Yeah, because you know what? Like you just finished saying, a man is more obvious because you can tell. We women, I don't know, and Miss Carol, help me out here. I'm going to say something like on my experience. And I'm going to answer that question, Miles. When we're walking down the street, we can be walking with our boyfriend or our husband, and of course our eyes is going to direct, without you guys even knowing it, this is my way. With the corner of my eye, I can be walking with my partner, and the corner of my eye, I can spot a real rugged, good-looking guy, and you won't notice it.
To repeat this,
that's true.
You won't. Yeah, you won't notice it because I have that done with the corner of my eye, and I'll be like, ooh, but quietly I'll observe without you even noticing I'm looking at that person and admiring him, where you just finished saying you looked at the woman like,
all the way around.
Huh?
True.
He turned his head all the way around.
Yeah, all the way around. And, of course, we're going to pick on that and look at you like, okay, you looking at that female, and you even turned around and looked fully at her complexion from top to bottom, where we don't do that. I can look from the corner of my eye and be like, ooh, he is so good looking without you even noticing, and I'll just smile, and you'll be thinking I'm smiling because I'm walking with you, but I'm smiling because I'm looking at that dude from top to bottom, how muscular he is, without even you knowing the difference.
Yeah, I noticed because we as men, we do have a tendency to stare.
Yes, and we can pick, there's something about us, we can pick that up real quick where you guys won't pick up on it with us because there's a saying that we hide it well, not to hurt your feelings, because we're not going to say, ooh, look at that guy.
That's not
sweetheart,
fair.
Look at that guy. And no, how is that not fair?
Because y'all can see better than we can. We just...
No, we can't. We just have the finesse not to disrespect the person that we're walking with.
No, she did not just go there with me on that one, the finesse.
Yes, I did.
Yes, she's absolutely right, Miles. I got to agree with her because I just finished saying it.
Let me check out my dictionary for them big words y'all throwing back at me. The finesse. Oh, Lord.
It's true. You put it very well, Ms. Carol. Absolutely very well. I couldn't find the word.
When we go to the question at hand.
Because I got 7 sisters, and girl, I got 7 sisters. They used to sit in the front room and talk about men. I'm like, y'all got boyfriends. Yeah, so what? And they be talking about other men. They're like, oh, Lord, how y'all see all that? But they be talking. I be sitting in the kitchen just being nosy, like, oh, man. They're rougher than we are.
No, and Ms. Carol just said it right. We have the finesse for that, to hide it well.
Okay, I get you that.
But it's just like a little spectator sport. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, I'm glad I ain't break my nose.
It's just like when you go window shopping. As long as you don't touch it, as long as you don't taste it, you just keep it moving.
You threw window shopping in there too.
Exactly.
So now, and I want to say, back to the question at hand about women looking at other women, I think, well, there's two ways it goes. Sometimes some women look at other women and they're catty, they get jealous. But other women look at women who are well put together and admire them. So it's part of being in the sisterhood. You see a woman that's well put together, and it's like that inspires you. And you see a look or a fashion or something, and then it's like, oh, I want to try that. I want to get that fashion. I want to do. So when we look at each other, and we appreciate the beauty in one another. Most of us, like I said, some of us look at each other and get catty about it, and hate on somebody because they look cute. But I'm like this: if you look cute, I'm gonna tell you, you look cute.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hear women do give other women that compliment like that.
Yeah, like when I met Francesca. I said, "Oh, girl, you're so cute."
I remember you telling me that.
Had on her little skirt swing.
When I met her, when I first met her, I was like, why is she always crying all the time? She's so emotional.
I'm just a caring person. That's what it is, Miles. And like I said, like Miss Carol just said, like when we compliment each other and someone does it in so much, goes deep into it, you're not expecting it, it makes you feel good, because when someone gets to meet you for the very first time and they actually say those powerful words and you don't expect it from someone that you just met, it just, empowers you, and I get emotional when somebody just says something about me, and it just encourages me and pumps me up like to do more. But yes, in fact, I am an emotional person because, I'm very caring, very caring. The loss I just had Monday, not to switch the subject, the loss I had Monday, whoever knows Trandella Blackwell, she was an amazing pillar in the community with a beautiful heart, always helping. And we were always hugging each other. I'm a hugger and a kisser when I first meet you, and I feel that spirit and that vibe about you. Like I said, everybody that's up here that I met at the vision board, I love. Deborah, Miss Carol, you, Miles, Forrest, everybody. And I just met you guys that first day, and to me, it's like y'all became my family. And I talk about you all the time. When my podcast is over, I'm like, oh, my God, it was amazing. This one came on. And I talk about you guys like I've known you for years. So if I hear something happens to you, I'm like boots in the ground, like calling, are you okay? You need something? If you pass on, that's going to hurt me. And I just met you. And it's something that about me that a lot of people, tell me you're so good-hearted and stuff. And when she passed away, I'm still trying to process process it, because she was a person that when I was going to do an event, I was like, what you think? She was like, go for it, Queen. I'm going to go. Anybody that was at my domestic violence awareness, her last chemo was October the 7th last year, and my event was the 8th. And she told me if I don't show up, they're doing my last chemo, I might be tired, but, congratulations, I know you're going to do good. She showed up. I have the video. Miss Carol?
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. The woman who came to the vision board, she passed?
Yeah, she passed, Miss Carol, Monday.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet, loving lady.
Yeah, she passed on. Yeah, she passed on Monday.
I was just talking to Miss Cotton about her too, the councilwoman.
Yeah, she passed on Monday, and everybody that was there know that I announced her and everything, and she was like, this is your event. You always doing this. And I just put people on the spot that genuinely didn't impact in my life and had always supported me. So Monday, yes, coming out of work, I was told of the news. Did I open my Facebook? I said, no, what's up? And they told me she passed, and I haven't been right because of that news, because when you have this to-go person texting and stuff like that and phone calls, and she would call me and be like, what you think about this event? I said, go for it. So, yeah, unfortunately in May she did her big event, absolutely, sold out, did her testimony of how God gave her life back in May of this year. And for me to hear on Monday she passed on, I was like, I don't believe it. This is it's a nightmare. And, I'm still trying to process it. I look at our messages. I look at all the pictures of us hugging each other. And when you have someone like that that's no longer here, I feel like half of me went, with her. And I'm trying to process. I can imagine how the mother, they were always together. She was there last year with her, and that was her rock. So I can imagine how the mother is. She did reach out to me to tell me, I know how much you love my daughter. I can imagine how you feel. I said, I haven't processed it yet, but I know the viewing is going to be the ultimate, face off for me to actually realize, you're not coming back. You're not here no more. So I'm preparing myself for that moment. But, yeah, she passed away on Monday. Yeah, she did.
Carol, Miss Carol, Miss Carol surprised me too when I first met her, because
yes,
on the phone she was. But when I saw her in person, she was like cooler than the macaroni and cheese. I mean, like
what? Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that was. I'm like, now that's a cool lady I could hang out with.
No.
That's why I always pick with her on the phone all the time.
No, not because she's up here. When I first met her, even though she said that about me, I looked at her up and down and I said, this woman got a lot of swag. And when you hear people's voices and you actually put the voice to an actual body, and I'm like, ooh, that lady beautiful from top to bottom too. I was like, amazing. So when I got to see everybody from the podcast in person, when you hear our voices and you actually see us in person, you'll be like, oh, that's behind the mic. So, yes, she's absolutely beautiful. She has a beautiful spirit. You, Miles, Deborah, the list just goes long. Yeah, the list goes long. Y'all made my event very impacting, very beautiful. It was a family setting. We laughed. Of course, you're going to mention emotional. I cried and I laughed, and I took that moment with me, and I still, to this day, it's talked about. That it was absolutely beautiful. And I say all events should be like that, coming together, because you never know who you meet. And to me, y'all became my family as of that day completely. Like I said, I talk about you guys all the time. And I said, oh, no, she's beautiful. I saw her the first day. Adrian, too, she was the first one on the scene. And when I got to meet her, beautiful spirit, had a nice conversation. And that's what it is about, not networking. It's just getting along, talking to each other. And you never know. I always say, like the Bible says, love thy neighbor. You never know if any of you guys get sick or if something happened, you need any help. I'll be like, okay, I heard this. I'm going to Miss Carol. Or I heard this about Miles. I'm going, up there to see what's going on. And when I say there's unity in the community amongst ourselves, is a beautiful, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I have to thank everybody from Monday, the text, the phone call. I haven't been really taking phone calls, but I've been looking at the text of everybody's worrying about me because of her passing, because I haven't been able to really, to do the program today. I admire myself. There wasn't no time to cancel, and it wasn't in me to cancel, because I said, life goes on, and I just said, let's just do this. And in honor of her, she's the one that's pushing me, because she always motivated me. And I said, you know what, I'm doing this for you tonight. We got to move forward. But sometimes I learned from this. I always tell people on my Facebook, tomorrow's not promised. If you have a grudge with somebody, apologize. Don't let that stay in your spirit, because we never know. Love on each other, because we're only here. We never know when we're going to go. So from her death, I learned so much more from her death. Like, we're here today, but we're not promised tomorrow. And I learned that very, very hard on Monday. And I said, you know what? I called my kids. I'll be like, I love you for my grandbabies. I want to see them. I'll talk, when I'm better, because I'm still processing it, I'll be able to thank everybody that reached out to me, because there was one person that called me, and he's always on my podcast. His name is David. He calls me and he says, you know what, I got to give you back what you give back to the community, to everybody. Now you need me, you need us. And that stuck in my heart real hard, because I was like, wow, I'm receiving what I gave people back. And when he said those words, I thanked them. I really thanked them, because it was beautiful to hear him take out the time to see how I'm doing, checking up on me, and to actually hear him say those words. Now it's our turn to see how you're doing and reach out to you. So that in myself lets me know what an impact I did amongst everybody in the community. Because if you really was one of these ogre, mean person, no one would reach out to me. And I really have to think that I had a lot of people really reaching out to me. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could talk to each and one of you individually, but I need my time to process. I meditate a lot. I understand she's no longer here suffering. I understand that. I can wholeheartedly say it in the podcast. She's no longer suffering. I would not want her here suffering. And that's something that is making me accept more and more her passing on. But when you love someone, that deep and that closeness that you have is very hard. It's very hard. You'll have a lot of people like, she's not suffering no more. I said, I understand that. It's just that she will no longer be here. She was my to-go person, and that's something that I'm just trying to process and accept that, she's not here no more. So it's kind of hard when you love on people that genuinely do an impact in your life. And I know I've done a lot of impact in other people's life, and I'm very appreciated, really. On Facebook, I'm going to thank everybody once everything is over. But when you give back, you do receive. And I'm very, very humble and grateful of the love, of the concern. So, and that's just me. And Miles, that's why I said when you met me that day, I am an emotional person. I am a caring person. It's a feature that God put in me. I can't be a mean person. I see the good in people. If you hate on me for whatever reason, I still love on you. I'm going to still love on you regardless.
I was happy for you. Hey, Miss Carol, matter of fact, that same day, my bus driver was even up on her, too.
I knew he was going to go that avenue.
He told me all the way home. I talk about, man, who that lady is? Man, she all this, and I'm like, man, take me home. We get around the corner from the place. He's still talking. Yo, man, maybe I should go around the block, see if she's still outside. Man, get your behind out and get me home.
Miss Carol.
She helped me to the bus. I thought, yo, man, who that fine lady? I'm like, oh, Lord.
You know what happened, Miss Carol? I was so caring because I wanted to help Miles on the bus, and I took him all the way inside the bus till I made sure he was strapped in that seat so he can get home well. But then when we conversated over the phone, he mentioned that to me, and I was like, oh, my God, I get that all the time. But he was like, he had me crazy on the bus talking about you, girl, all the way home. I was like, really?
Going down one-way streets.
Talk about, he was only going one way, right?
No, that was the same day they had that Seabrook's funeral. And so he wanted to go back around the block again and see if she was still standing outside there. I'm like, man.
And you know what? He would have caught me because I think I was helping Deborah, and who else was Deborah that they were going inside? You?
Ernestine.
Yes. And I was helping them also. Like, I waited long enough because she was like, no, go. And I said, no, I ain't going nowhere until I see that you guys get in the vehicle. Then when you get in the vehicle, I leave. I have a tendency that if you showed up and you came in transportation, I'm not going to leave and be like, okay, you figure it out. I'm not that type of person. So if he would have came around, he probably would have saw me. Yeah, he probably would have saw me because I was making sure everybody got on in their transportation.
He would have wrapped around that corner looking for you. I would have told him, man, take me home before I call a company on you. Got me out here. So believe he talked all the way home, man. Like, I couldn't wait to get off the bus.
Oh, Miles.
No,
really?
Yeah, because that's all he kept saying. Like I know your phone number and all that. Yo, how long you know? Or where she from? I'm like, man, get out of here with that.
Now, to know about that fine sister.
What happened? Oh, shit.
He wanted to know about that fine sister.
I mean, she was all up on the bus and everything, and I guess he's sitting there looking at like, whoa, like as soon as she got off the bus, that's the first thing was asked. Who's that? I started saying, I should have said that she's my daughter. Don't get your eyes off her.
Oh, Miles. Well, Miss Carol, I wanted to. One second, Miles. Miss Carol, I wanted to ask you a question because I know you're a woman of knowledge, just exactly like everybody that's up here. But my topic was on transgender, same-sex relationship, and I was reading on, how much is impact them with domestic violence too, and they're not looked at, seriously. And I was saying in my program how, when they tell their parents that they're gay or they're, lesbian, they are shunned from the family. They're actually not accepting. They don't have that family support. And I had asked Miles, and he answered it so honestly, and I loved what he said too. I asked him if he had a son that would come up to him and say, "Listen, Dad, I'm gay." How would he react? And I liked his response that he said it doesn't matter to him as as he would love him regardless, and even ask him, do you love the person? That's it. And it stayed on that. What's your take on, same-sex relationship, or if one of your children was to come up to you and say, Mom, I don't like men, I like women, and they themselves don't understand, but she comes up to you or your son comes up to you and literally says that to you, what would be, what your reaction would you be accepting? Would you be argumentative? One of the two, no judgmental, no debating. How would you feel if one of your children was to come up to you and say, son or daughter, they were in love with a female or a guy?
Now that's a very difficult question, because you can think one thing, and then if the reality of it comes, you may behave in a totally different way. Now, just off the cuff, I would honestly say I would have a difficult time ingesting it. And I would need a moment to ingest it. But I think overall, I would accept my child for who they were. But I would have some questions for them, in terms of how they came to arrive at, this state of being. And I'm not gonna lie, I would be praying like mad.
No, and you know what? I respect your not to cut you off. I respect your I love that. I want you to be transparent, and I want you to be, honest, and I respect what you just said, because it's like I was telling Miles, there's some people that wouldn't be able to process it and have those questions, and it's normal to have those questions because sometimes, like Miles said, he will be accepting. Some people won't, and we have to, respect that. So the fact that you said it, that's exactly a response that I was looking for, because everything you said is all the above. You would pray on it, you would question, and you're absolutely right to have those questions up in the air, because we can't have a lot of people agree and say, okay, I'm going to accept it, and that's it. It's my child. I'm going to love him for who he is. I like the fact that you said, something different and honest, because we have to be honest, So I thank you for even, mentioning it up here, because I say sometimes it's a bold move, because some people, like I said from the beginning of the program, some people are very, don't want to touch that topic. They don't want it to touch their home and be like, not my son, not my daughter, because we can have a different, I could have been one of those moms and say, like, if my son was to say, Mom, I don't like girls, I like guys, I would have been like, boy, what's wrong with you? Where I would, if I would have been that type of mindset, like, what's wrong with you? No way. You're supposed to but we can have a different dialogue of wondering in our heads, like, okay, he said he doesn't like women, he likes guys. Now, what led to that? I have questions now. So I thank you for saying something, more transparent, different from what me and Miles were talking, that he said he was accepting. I would have been, with this day and age, I would have been accepting, but also I would have been thinking, okay, what happened? Why is he thinking that, and it's acceptable to think like that, because we're human. We birth our children, and different things happen, and we're human beings where we can question it. So I just want to say I admire you that you was very honest. I saw how you was answering. It is a tough question, and as a mother, we're going to have a lot of questions in our heads, like, okay, I got stuff to ask him, but then you got to find a way how to ask him without him feeling ashamed and that he did something wrong. So go ahead, you have the floor.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, because I work with a gentleman who is gay, and eventually he has talked about it, and he was married to his husband, and now they're getting a divorce, and so he's feeling the pain, and so sometimes when we're all talking and whatnot,
what is that?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I'm on the speaker. I didn't know I was on. I thought I was on mute. Okay, don't worry about it. This is Dr. James. Sorry.
And so it's just it's interesting, because I tell you, I'll be really honest with you. I have a hard time with people putting their sexuality out there, because I believe I'm not talking to you about what's going on in my bedroom, and I don't need you talking to me about what's going on in yours. And I know it's more than that, but so often, so often you have people who are in same-sex relationships, and I guess because so often they're not accepted by other people, that sometimes they come off as, like in your face, and like I don't need you to be in my face about what you're doing. Just do it and be you. Just be you and do what you do. I don't need to know all the ins and outs of what's going on.
Absolutely.
So it's I find, and I struggle. I tell you, I struggle, because we were having a conversation today at work, and we were talking about, and I said something about transvestites, and the one young woman, she said that term is not politically correct, and it's funny because she's said it to me like in a respectful way, because she's 20-something, so she realizes we're generations away from one another. And so I said, so she says a cross-dresser. I said, okay, a cross-dresser. And we were talking about how I said there was this guy, he was a cross-dresser, and this goes back several years when I worked as a welfare examiner, and we had a lot of these young men who were either transsexual or cross-dressers. And so, but there was one who was, dressed as a woman, and he was prostituting, and a man picked him up, and so they started, kissing and what have you, and then the man, started to feel him up and realized he was with a man, and he beat that guy mercilessly and, threw him out the car, and I mean, he jacked him up. And so, it's it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. And so I believe that there are people who, for whatever reason, truly are gay. I believe there are gay people. There's something that in utero, something didn't mesh in the way that most people do, and they are gay. But I also believe that a lot of people who are gay, like you hear more and more people are gay nowadays. I think a lot of that is socialization, and that it's a cool thing to be, or there's a lot of experimentation, and I think that the schools are helping to confuse our children and telling them that they can choose what gender they are. And so there's a whole, it just goes into a whole broad thing. And anyway, that's my take.
Okay. I know there was someone that wanted to say, I think somebody wanted to say something.
I know it's almost time to go, Francesca. I know you're leaving us. I commend you for coming on today. It's a hard topic because sometimes I think they become gay because they don't feel affectionate and somebody else gives them the affectionate that they're looking for. And that's why they become gay.
Yeah.
Well respected.
I agree with that. And, I also used to certify foster homes, and a lot of times it's been my experience that two mommies or two daddies, a lot of times a lot of problems come out in their relationship when they start fostering these children. My director, I got in trouble because I would not certify a home with two mothers. I said, if you have a child that came out of a home with two mothers, then I'll certify this home. I said, but I'm not putting a child who came out of a home that's a troubled home with a mother and a father, and I'm not putting that child in a home with two mommies or two daddies. I'm not going to do that. And so it was a whole big thing, but I refused. And, somebody else certified that home, not me. And I had to be true to what I believe.
No, and that's well respected too, because that can bring, all transparency and stuff, and speaking with honesty, it can be a confusion. I've seen a situation like that where, I saw, two mommies raising her son, and I never knew they were a couple. So I found out, and I'm like, and I was questioning in my head how that child feels of who to call mom. You have your real mom, but then your mom has her partner, and those questions arise in your head sometimes, and be like, okay, your son now sees you in another relationship where the father was there, but now no longer, because you're in a relationship with a woman. And sometimes in your head you question, like, do he call both of them mom? How his turnout would be. And like I said, I respect that you took that, you took that choice. You took that choice, because sometimes if they come from a broken home and you stick them in a situation like that, it's very hard for the child to, identify that situation and think and I have to say it because, in the world where a lot of people think it's not normal, can a child be raised in a same-sex relationship? Some could because there's an open dialogue, but some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead, Dr. James.
Real quick, Dr. James. Listen, I feel like this. Couple things. In this world, it's hard enough to find somebody that you could get along with, male or female. And if you find somebody that you can get along with and you can live with your life without fighting, arguing, sharing the bills, and living happily, I don't think it matters, even though the Bible doesn't say that, but I'm saying if they're same sex or not. That's the first thing. Second thing, with these children, if you have two mothers and they do a good job with raising the kid, I would applaud them, because would you rather for the kid to have a mother and a father, and the father is a bum and they turn out to be dope addicts and drug dealers or whatever? Or would you rather for a kid to have two mothers and he turns out to be an honest, productive citizen? I'd go with the two mothers.
No, I can agree with you.
2023.
No, and I can agree with you, Dr. James, because I've known many couples. I'm on the scene. I'm involved in the community a lot, and I see many couples that I can give a testimony of what you just said, which it's accurate too. Because, like I said, we can agree and disagree, non-judgmental. I know two mothers. She's raising her biological son with her partner, who's a woman, and they live together. They break down the household together, and the child's well-groomed, working, and not unbothered by the situation at all. And the child's like, well, I'm not going to say the child. He's 22 years old, and he's working. And the environment as it is right now, how he's raised by two mothers, the child came out perfectly fine, mentally fine, is in the work establishment, still lives with his mother, because, he's saving up, to get his car, home, and stuff like that. So it does work out. Sometimes we can't say it don't work out. Sometimes it does, it does work out, and you have a valid point, which you said, what you absolutely said. There are many that are in I know two men that live together. They've been married for over 15 years. They purchased their second home in Wayne. He works in an awesome job. His other partner works in an awesome job, and you see them traveling, together. And they've been together like for 25 years, and there's nothing in society has accepted, their relationship. They go out to these many places, and when I look at the pictures, I just see their surroundings, the love that everybody has for them. There's nothing, no bad looks, not in an uncomfortable picture or whatnot. So there are many relationships that do work out, and children are in the home and turn out perfectly fine. And
biblically, it's not supposed to happen, but everybody's a sinner. And if you can get along and you can be happy, that word happy, with whoever, in this day and age, I think you're lucky, because there's so many people that are miserable in relationships, and they stay in a miserable relationship because of the kids. And that shouldn't have to happen either.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
A question, Ms. Kyle said, like, you take a child from a mother and a father, right? And then you put it into a family with two women. Wouldn't it be kind of confusing because the kids see the mom kissing a man now, they see two women kissing?
It can, if there's no dialogue, because like I said, the couple that I mentioned, the two women, which I know, my daughter even associated with them, and I didn't have a problem at all, but I just found it, to give you a little, to answer that. My daughter was in an after school program, and one of the ladies took fond of her, and I would let her, hang out. They would go to the park, out to eat and stuff like that. And I never seen a man. I always saw a woman. And one day I questioned it to my daughter. I said, listen, I see this person quite often at the house all the time. Who is she? She was like, that's her partner. And it was a woman. And I was like, her partner? I was like, yeah. And, I was very transparent, not judgmental. And at first, I almost had an issue. But then I saw how she was treating my daughter and how my daughter and her son got along because they were in school together. Like when they graduated, they were in the same school, and her mom was like, I want them to stay together. Your daughter is so smart, and she always helps my son. And we grew a bond together, and I didn't see like anything wrong. Like I saw, the son in the setting, he came out like absolutely very mature from the whole thing. He called his mom, and he called the partner by the first name, which, that's how he felt comfortable. But I didn't see anything unusual from the son that it bothered him, at all. But I questioned it when I had my daughter, going over there, because I never liked my daughter going to anybody's house. But this woman has she won my trust and how she treated my daughter. But then, as I started engaging more and more with her, I started noticing there wasn't a father in the house. And I saw this young lady, and I'm like, who is she? She was like, that's her partner. So I was like, oh. So it's like two mommies in the house. And she was like, yeah. At first I was bothered, because I'm going to have questions in my head. But it wasn't my place to ask her absolutely anything because she treated my daughter like her own. So I saw nothing with it. I always asked my daughter, do you have anything you want to ask me of that situation? And my daughter was very comfortable, got along with both of them, with the son, and my daughter never said to me, like, Mommy, why is two women? She never asked me none of the above, but they were always happy. They was always happy. It was a very nice family, setting. So I saw nothing wrong with it because, like you just said, they're happy, be happy. And my main concern was that she treated my daughter like her own, and we had that trust, and I never ever got to ask her, like, I never knew you was a lesbian, and I didn't know your partner was a never did it ever cross my mind to ever ask her that. And I was never uncomfortable. At first I was when I found out, but then it just grew on me like, they're happy. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I don't see no disrespect. I went to several parties where they were all, of the same sex, and I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. They embraced me like, hey, how you doing? What's up? And we were talking and stuff, and I didn't see anything, wrong at that moment, And like I said, everybody has their, their own beliefs, because in the Bible said it's supposed to be, Adam and Eve. I'm not going to say the other statement because I don't like it. They always say it's supposed to be a man and a woman. But in this day and age, it's something, it's something different. That some people are going to accept it. No. Some people, yes. And like you just said, the love is there, the respect is there, and there's no issue, no problem. I always say, I say, why not? Because sometimes and I have to mention real quickly, sometimes someone did say up here, and I think it was David, where they try to look for love, and I'm not going to say they become gay, but there's something that associates where they do find love somewhere else, and it starts. There's also child abuse involved. There's also molestation. There's also rape, where it leads up to that if a man actually that violent act to another male, that's all they known, that's all they saw, and they continue, unfortunately, they continue the cycle. The same thing for a woman. If she's raped by a woman, they continue the cycle because that's what they've known. That's what happened to them. If a man rapes another man and it's continually happening, that's what the male is always going to see. a male figure, not going to cling to a woman, because that's what they already lived through. And I've seen that many times over and over, where someone told me, well, I was raped by a man, and, he even though it was a violent sexual act, the person will say, well, I like that, not what he did to me, but the experiment of it all led him up to preceding men. It might sound awkward, it might sound wrong, but it has happened, and I can't question it. I can't question it at all.
You know how many people I ran into that like gay and living with men and women and so forth, and I just look at them like this: if you're my friend, you're my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to judge you like that. That's up to God. Let God do the judging. You know what I mean? But as long as you're treating, and if you have a rapport with your kids, and you tell them, hey, I'm living with a same-sex person, but that don't mean you have to.
No, exactly.
You break it down to the kids like that and tell them, you don't have to do this just because I'm doing it.
What's going on in the real world?
You make up your own decision.
No, exactly, and that's exactly, Dr. James. What you say is important. Hello.
Yeah.
We like it or not, it's the real world in terms of what people are experiencing.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Somebody said, I don't know. Somebody said something, man.
Didn't anyone say anything?
He said that's the real world about what people are experiencing. I don't know who said that.
World, alhamdulillah, is what it is. Allah is in charge of all of it. Allah permits all of it. It's all a trial, and that's all this life is. There's nothing, nothing about how people feel and think, right, wrong, or indifferent, alhamdulillah, bothers me like that anymore. Alhamdulillah. There's a reason why people do everything they do, and people justify anything and everything they want to. So, Absolutely, I agree with that. Absolutely, and I agree with what she said. It's absolutely right. Everybody chooses, their life, and like you just said, only God can judge. And I've been in so many surroundings. I get along with everybody, and I don't question anything. And like Miles just said, and Miss Carol, and you just say, as long as there are a lot of love, respect, dialogue, if what I'm doing doesn't mean you necessarily have to do it, there has to be a line of communication all the time on anything, especially this topic. It's a very sensitive topic. It's a topic no one wants to, confront, and that's the word I was looking for from the beginning of my program, is confront. But sometimes every situation is different. Every situation leads up to a different, outlook as to why. And we can't, we can debate, we can agree or disagree and not be judgmental. But here, basically, a lot leads up to situations like that, homes, community, friends, school. All the above leads to a situation on where when you do come out, you're looked at. Listen, real quick, there was a singer that I admired all my life, and his name is Ricky Martin. All my life, he was a gorgeous man, absolutely wonderful singer. He came out, I think, a couple of years ago and literally said, I'm gay. I am gay, and, he married his partner. He had 2 children with a surrogate, and he raised them, his own, own children with his sperm and stuff with a surrogate, and raised them now with his partner. And no one would have never thought this famous person was gay. No one would have thought. When he came out, he was embraced, he was loved, and it was just something you just had to accept, because he hid it so long that he figured now it's time for me to just say, because you can't hide something that long because it's damaging to yourself. And he came out and he said, listen, I'm gay. That's it. And he was embraced by everybody in the community and accepting of it. And then he came out with his partner and married his partner, and he's happy, and he had his 2 children with surrogate, beautiful young children. And, as they're growing up, They might question why there's two fathers in the household. That dialogue has to be brought up when the time comes, because that's their, that's their situation, their family situation at that point. I can't say anything. I can just look further from the situation that it would be not an easy dialogue, but a hard dialogue, because as the children grow up and friends start coming to the house, they'll be saying, well, those are my two daddies. They live together. And then that's where I say the problem starts, where the friends are open to it and just embrace it. And then you have the ones that basically say, well, I grew up in a family setting where it was a mom and a dad, and you got two daddies, explain that. So that dialogue has to be with the two individuals involved. We can't, like I said, I can't judge on that. Just embrace it and just be happy. My time is already up, you guys, my kings and queens. I like the dialogue. I liked everybody, engaged in this topic, which is a sensitive topic. And like I said, once I was going to say up here in my podcast, someone actually said, be very careful. It's a touchy subject. But sometimes stuff has to be talked about, even if there's, people don't want to address it. But there is a lot of domestic violence in the transgender community. There is. It's not addressed appropriately because it's discriminated. It's looked at as a laughing matter, and it's not. There are people, too. We don't know what led to their situation, and it has to be respected. And also a lot of love into it, because sometimes there's a family setting that makes them leave the home because they're not accepted. But I embrace that community. I love it. I have a bunch of friends. I have a bunch of, friends that are married, and I take into them just being happy, So to me, it is what it is. I embrace every change, but in here, there's a lot of laws that have to be changed in the transgender domestic violence. A lot of it, there's an unjust and not looked at it seriously. So I pray on it all the time. But I have to get off because John Monroe is coming right after me. So if you guys are not doing nothing, please stay on for John Monroe for Vision Care at 8 o'clock. We all need to know about our eyesight. We all use our phone and read text and stuff like that. And he can acknowledge us of a lot of stuff on vision care. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you so much for hopping on. I love you, I love you, I love you, and you can't do nothing about it.